Torah Resource is made possible through the generous donations of people like you. If you would like to help us continue to produce this kind of material, please consider making a donation at TorahResource.com.
Shalom, welcome to some comments on this week's Torah portion. It is Parashat Tetzaveh. Tetzaveh, you will command. And that comes from the very first word we see here in Exodus 27, verse 20, Ve'ata Tetzaveh, and you will command et Bnei Yisrael. So this is the Lord speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai. Before the golden calf, of course. This is the first time where Moses is up on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. And the Lord, starting with the last week's Torah portion, Terumah, is giving instruction on the building of, the design, the materials, etc., for the building of the Mishkan and the establishment and dedication of the priests. Well, let's just look at this very first verse here of our Torah portion. It says, and you shall command the sons of Israel. So, ve'ata tetzaveh et bnei Yisrael, ve'yikehu elecha, shemen zayit zak katit lamaor. That is, and they will bring to you shemen, that's oil, zayit, so we have our first word here, shemen, oil. That's like, Gethsemane, got shemen, that's the oil press. So if you know that SMN sound in the Garden of Gethsemane, that is from the transliteration of shemen, which is oil. Zayit, that's our word for olive. So shemen zayit is oil of olive. Zak katit, zak, and I have that in red. You'll see that in a minute here. Why? Zak is pure, and katit is crushed or beaten. So they will bring to you oil that is from an olive, zayit. It's zak, pure, and it's katit. It's beaten or crushed. And it is la ma'or, for the light. For the light. Now there's a definite article here under the lamed, because we have the patach here, for those who know a little bit of Hebrew, for the light. And the light implied here, of course, is the light that fills the holy place, the light of the menorah. And it says, leha'alot ner tamid, and to cause the light or the lamp to burn continually, to cause the lamp to go up continually, basically is what it means. Leha'alot ner is the word for lamp. Tamid is continually. Now, what I want to look at here is this word zak. You see it in red. It's the word for pure. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to look at this word. We already looked at shemen and how you might know the word Gethsemane, Gath Shemen. You might also remember from Luke chapter 19, a man named Zacchaeus. Well, that's another good way to connect this word zak to your memory, because the name Zacchaeus comes from zakai, which comes from this word pure, zak. What I wanted to do is just show, because there's only a handful of places in the Tanakh where zak is used. Let's take a look at them. I think it's really cool. So the first time we see zak is here in our Torah portion, Exodus 27:20, describing the purity of the olive oil. Well, let's see where else it's used. The next time it's used is in Exodus 30, verse 34. So part of our same Torah portion, where it says, levona zakah. Levona zakah. So here it's feminine, because levona, frankincense, is feminine. So the modifier, the adjective pure, has to be feminine as well, because in Hebrew, as in Greek, the adjectives or the modifiers have to agree with the noun they're modifying in both number and gender. With Greek, with case also, but here, levona zakah, frankincense, pure. And unlike English, we say the adjective first, the red car, right? The green grass, the blue sky. We give the adjective in advance of the noun. Well, here in Hebrew, as is the case always in Hebrew, it comes after. Levona zakah, frankincense, pure. Shemen zayit, zak. So, but let's continue on. So frankincense, pure. Then we see in Leviticus 24 a repetition of the same parts of the priestly worship mentioned again. Leviticus 24, command the sons of Israel, Vayikahu elecha shemen zayit zak katit lamaor, exactly like we saw in Exodus. It's zak here is modifying the olive oil. And likewise, a few verses later in Leviticus 24:7, levona zakah, levona zakah. So in the Torah, we only see this root, zak, twice. It's used to describe the purity of the olive oil for the menorah and the purity of the frankincense. And we see it, and we see that twice in the Torah. So we see it for the olive oil and the frankincense in Exodus, and then we see it again for the olive oil and the frankincense in Leviticus. So there's 4 total times, but twice meaning it's a repetition. So I was just counting those once. Well, then let's look beyond that. What about for the rest of the Tanakh? Well, we see it, I think it's 4 times in Job, and let's look at these. Well, the first one's in Job 8:6. It says, if you are pure and upright, im zak v'yashar ata, if you are pure and upright, surely now he will stir himself for you and restore your righteous estate. I'm reading from the NASB here. Well, this is Bildad. This is not Job. This is one of Job's conversation partners. And he's saying, im zak v'yashar ata, if pure and upright you are. So here it's talking about human character. It's still an adjective, zak, but in the Torah, just like we saw in Exodus and Leviticus, it's only applied to objects, to materials like olive oil and frankincense. But the next time we see it in Job 8, it's Bildad almost accusingly talking to Job, because of course he sees Job's suffering. And he's saying, well, if you were really zak v'yashar, so it's not talking about a material, it's talking about Job's personal soul, right? His character, his heart before the Lord. If zak v'yashar, pure and upright. And that's accusatory because, right, they're suspicious of Job, that he's got some secret sins that he's not confessing, and that's why he's suffering. Then the next time we see it is Job 11, and this is Zophar, another one of Job's conversation partners. Vetomer zak likhi uvar hayiti v'anecha. For you have said, my lekach, my teaching is pure, and I am innocent in your eyes. Now this is Zophar talking to Job. And the content, though, what is it that's zak? Teaching. Again, not a material object, not like oil that is pure or levona, frankincense that is pure, but rather teaching now, or doctrine. Job 16 is Job's words. Aloha mas bechapai utefilati zakah. Here we see the feminine form. Why? Because it's modifying the word prayer, tefillah. Although there is no violence in my hands, my prayer is pure. So this is Job now testifying of himself. He says, tefilati, that's tefillah, prayer, with the suffix tefilati zakah. My prayer is pure. And then finally, in Job, the last example that we see in Job of the four is Job 33. This is Elihu, another conversation partner of Job, and he's quoting Job. Zak ani beli pasha chaf anochi velo avonli. I am pure. So again, it's talking about a person being pure. So just to recap, in the Torah, we see it used for two items. Shemen, that is shemen zayit, that is olive oil, and for levona, frankincense. We see it 4 times in Job, and it's all talking about a person or teaching. So see how it's extrapolated, like metaphorically, to talk about intangible things, like a person or a teaching. After that, we just go to Proverbs, and we have Proverbs 16:2, Kol darkei ish zak be'enav v'tochen ruchot Adonai. All the ways of a person are zak be'enav. All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes. That means that as individuals, this is a warning, right? As an individual, like Yeshua says, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you can see clearly to help somebody else. Well, the picture is that people walk around in the world and they don't realize they have a plank in their own eye, but they see planks, they see problems everywhere else. Well, I think this is similar to that, in that the idea is that we have blind spots, and that we are quick to assess ourselves as in the right. Kol darchei ish zak be'enav. It doesn't mean that this evaluation of a person, of their own character, is true. It's just that it's a positive assessment. Everybody thinks that their motives are pure. Everybody would think that present themselves as having pure and genuine motives or good intentions, right? But Zak here, again, just like with Job, is talking about a person or the ways, the behavior. It's not talking about material, like in the Torah, shemen zayit, olive oil, or levuna, which is frankincense. Proverbs 20, verse 11, it is by his deeds that a boy distinguishes himself, yitnaker na'ar, and then im zak ve'im yashar, po'alo. Here we have the word pair of zak and yashar, just like we had with all the way back to Bildad. If you go back to Job 8:6, im zak ve'yashar ata. So see, we have a word pair of zak and yashar, pure and upright. Well, we see that again here in Proverbs 20. Im zak ve'im yashar po'alo. If his conduct is pure and right, his from po'al, deeds, basically. So again, we see ways, behavior, doctrine, a person, their own self. These are described with the same adjective, having purity or the capacity to be pure. And then finally, after that, Proverbs 21, verse 8, the way of a guilty person is crooked, v'zak yashar po'alo. But as for the pure, his conduct is upright. So we still see this word pair together, zak, yashar. But here, it seems that zak is just referring to a pure person. So what do we do with all this? These are the only examples we have of this word used in the Bible, zak. In the Torah, it's for material objects, specific material objects. Shemen zayit, that is olive oil, and levona, frankincense. And we see that first in Exodus in our Torah portion this week, and then again in Leviticus 24, we see it repeated. But after that, in Job and in Proverbs, the adjective zak, from which we get the name Zacchaeus and Zakkai, refers to people. It refers to derek, meaning a way or behavior, poel, which is behavior also. It can refer to lekach, which is doctrine, or most often it was just to a person being said to be zak, or pure. So what do we do with that? Well, what we see is that Scripture uses metaphors, and there's a transferability of metaphor. So people can externally see what it means that shemen zayit, like olive oil, is pure and crushed. It's purity. They know what that is. They know what it takes to get that purity. On the one hand, that it means it's refined. It's not in its rawest state, but it is gone through some sort of process where care and the removal of impurities, the removal of foreign objects and things like that, are getting it down to its pure, irreducible essence. And then what that metaphor is, helps us illumine, according to Job and Proverbs, is the attitude of the unseen person, the hidden person of the heart, that there is before God, testified here in the Scriptures, a pure heart, zak, someone who is zak, and their deeds can be zak, their doctrine can be zak. And likewise, it means they've gone through some sort of refinement process. There's been a removal of impurities, of things that don't belong. And there is a purity, a clarity that is associated with light. Just like the light, back to our Torah portion, Tetzaveh et b'nei Israel, they will bring you shemen zayit zak kadit lamaor, for light. So I would suggest that just as the pure olive oil is light for the menorah in the holy place of the tabernacle, so too in Yeshua we are called to a very high calling of purity. That is, of purity of heart and mind, purity of speech, purity of behavior, purity of doctrine. And these don't come immediately. These come through learning the hard way, right? Making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. Receiving wisdom from believers and trusted elders that have gone before us. And but all by the grace of Yeshua in guiding us to a greater light, to reflecting his pure love in the world. And the removal of impurities in our heart and in our mind, in our speech, in our action, in our thoughts is crucial. It's a non-negotiable must. It's a requirement for his children to walk in the light as he is in the light. So I hope just if you remember anything, remember Zacchaeus and Zacchae and this word zak as used in the Torah for the oil, for the menorah, and for the frankincense, for the aromatic spices. All right, I hope this was something helpful and will encourage some discussion in your Torah studies this week. Shalom.